and Dr. Bethan Perkins, who is our project lead and product owner for DAFNI.
Thanks, Marion. Yes, hi everyone. My name is Bethan Perkins. I'll give you an overview of the data sharing aspects on the DAFNI platform. Can you all see my screen okay here? Can you see the login page? Yes, okay, great. So I'm going to, this is the login screen for the DAFNI platform. As Brian just mentioned, to get access to the DAFNI platform, we are open for business. Then please contact us on the team here and we point you in the right direction for sign up. You'll notice there is no register button on this site, so you do have to contact us individually for a login to the website, the platform. So once you have your login, then enter your details here. I'm using a like a demo user that we have on the platform, so non-admin 1. Once you log in, you should see the welcome page. For some reason, I had another page cached there. You'll see the welcome page. So I'm going to cover 2 of these 4 main areas that you can see up here and also down the side. So data and management of access of other people to that data, essentially. And then once I'm done, I'll pass over to Tom Gowland, who will talk you through models and how we can use them in workflows. So the foundation of models on DAFNI is data. So we have some data discovery pages where we hold a number of data sets on the DAFNI platform. The moment as non-admin 1, I'm seeing 561 data sets, but there are actually over 900 data sets on the DAFNI platform. You as a non-admin user can't see the private holdings of other people on the platform. So that is just to make the point early on that data which you upload to the platform is private by default and can only be seen by you. So to add data to the platform, I think Brian mentioned that at the moment our holdings are growing in response to data required for models. So it's a very user community driven catalog at this stage. And so we do encourage you, once you're on the platform, to upload your data. So to add data, it's very straightforward. We have a form with a drag and drop file location, file input area, and then some metadata. And I'm going to speed through this and talk you through the section. So I've just copied and pasted, picked up and dragged a couple of files from here. They're very, very simple CSV file and a very simple text file. You can see they're very small. So they're now in place. So I need to create a title. And a description. This description is obviously going to be short because we're in a demo, but this is really the place to explain the details of your data set, what's in it. This is the area that other people will pay attention to considering your data set. So if you're trying to encourage use of your data, then this is the place to talk about it some more here in the description. If your data set has a DOI, an external DOI, you can record it here in identifiers. We require a user to provide a subject here. So let's say our data set is related to boundaries. These come from ISO 19115 used by Inspire. This may be changing soon. So we've done some interesting work around ontologies and vocabularies that we use to classify data. So this may update. It certainly won't shrink. It'll only get larger. You can choose some optional themes. If a language here, some keywords. This is for the search. So this will improve your search if you have more keywords here, the searchability of your data, I should say, rather. If there are any standards that your data set conforms to, we've given an example here, then you have an opportunity to declare them here. Then we come to the section on data set coverage. It's worth taking a moment to emphasize how important this is. So we allow users to search based on temporal coverage, and spatial coverage does give, you'll see when I show you the result of this, but there's a very nice quick view of the data coming here. So when we uploaded files right at the beginning, I put in a text file and a CSV file, but I could have put in anything. I could have put in a PDF, an Excel spreadsheet, anything that you like. So the moment we hold all our data in object store, so DAFNI doesn't really mind what format your data is in. And because of that openness, it means that it's beyond scope for us at the moment really to go in and interrogate every single data set and automatically extract the spatiotemporal bounds of that data. So we do ask users to provide this information here, though we have made it as easy as possible. So we're using the GeoNames library for you to quickly, hopefully, find an area that broadly represents the spatial coverage of your data. And then for temporal coverage, you add in a couple of dates here. So we go by dates only. Times is not in part of that search at the moment. The next section is on data ownership outside of DAFNI. So we are very aware that we don't want to become just another silo, which is unconnected to the outside world. And a question that comes up quite often is the idea of link data, and that is certainly something that we're looking at longer term. So whether instead of having a separate copy, we can link directly through to those external data sets. And that's definitely on the roadmap. But at the moment, this is that. So, and for now, this is the area where we're making those connections with the outside existence of this data set. So let's say the organization that we were, here's DAFNI. Oh, yeah. So there's our website, it's shared by Roadshow earlier. So you have an organization identifier, ideally a raw.id, your company's house, but a homepage is fine also. If there are particular people in that organization you want to shout out about who were involved in that data set, usually yourself, then you can add those in here. Again, to provide an ID, you will need to provide an ID there too. Add in a date created. If you update your data on a regular basis, you can make a note of that here. If your data is published by a third party anywhere, so classic example would be data.gov.uk. If your data is already on those, then you can declare that here. So the user will be able to, people will be able to link through to that particular holding of the data as well. And then finally, a contact point, name and email address, so that there is a human being somewhere at the end of this data set that you can ask questions of, and other people can come to you and ask questions of your data. The final section is on licensing. We mandate that each data set comes with a license. We suggest CC by 4, so a very open license as a default, but you are able to change that should you want to use a different license and put the link in for that, the URL. It's worth saying that DAFNI at the moment doesn't automatically monitor adherence to that license. So as I said, every data set is private to you to begin with. So there's a kind of best use policy where, you know, don't share your data with people who you don't trust to adhere to the license, etc. This again is automatic adherence to the license is also on the roadmap of things to look at and see if we can implement on DAFNI, even DAFNI licenses, I think. So yeah, and then next section, if you want to declare any rights to be withheld on the data in particular, you can put them here. And then very, very final tiny section is on update note. So we support versioning of data on DAFNI. So once I've created this data set, I'll be able to amend it should I wish to, and I'll be able to look back through the version history of the previous versions that I created. If anyone's familiar with Git, then this is essentially a commit message. So this message here allows you to get a quick snapshot of what this particular version of the data was all about. So that's the purpose of having that there. So then read and accept the DAFNI terms and conditions, ensure you have all your data files uploaded, and publish. So it's a very quick data set. All our data is currently published over HTTP at the moment. That's something to bear in mind. If your data set is really huge, then it's generally best to contact us and we'll see if we can go via the back end and find another way of getting the data onto the platform for you. So now we can have a look at this data set created. As I said, you have the good map there, very nice quick view of the spatial overview of the data. The 2 files that were created here, clicking these will download them through the browser. Our keywords and additional metadata that was or was not in some cases provided. Up here we have an area, so open access is telling me that I have access to this data. The license information is here. And there are 2 IDs which are minted when we create the data set. Tom will show you how you can then use these to, this is how you tell a model which data set you want to be to have in that model. As I mentioned, I could edit this if I so chose, and also I could delete it. I could delete a particular version, or I could delete the entire data set. I just want to show you quickly the privacy side of things. So if I now log in as a different user, non-admin 2, and have a look at the data pages, then these are sorted by most recent, and there is no test data set for Southampton at the top of the page here, so it can't be seen by non-admin 2. But non-admin 1 here on the light screens can share that in 2 ways. So on your data set, you can, this is bear with my data set in mind, so you can either make it public. So you go into the public section here where you manage what you're making, what data sets you're making public. The data set you can make, at the moment it is not visible. I could click to make it view only, which would allow the metadata to be seen, but not the files themselves to be downloaded. Or I could make it full access. This pings off a request to us and the DAFNI team to open that up for you. And that would then make that publicly available on the catalogue as one of the 552 or 3 by that point data sets that were available. The other thing I can do is share it in a group. So this is relatively new functionality that we have on the DAFNI platform. You can create a group very easily, just give a name and a description. And then once you have that group, and I'll use the demo group set up a while ago, then you can add users to that group. Here, you use their UUID, which you can find in any user's settings, and give them a role. So now as non-admin 1, I've put non-admin 2 into this group of mine. So I can add a data set to that group. So for example, test data set for Southampton as created. Let's give non-admin 2 view, read and update access. So non-admin 2 could edit the data set should they wish to, and I give them permission to do that. And so now if I switch back to looking at non-admin 2 and refresh their catalogue, then we see the test data set for Southampton is now available to them. And so that is how you can upload data and how you can share it with your colleagues in order to use in models. And for models, I'll pass over to Tom Gowland.